Well, greetings and hello there, everyone. It's me, your beloved Star Wars Dad, and yes, once again, whether you're watching this right when I release it or watching it several months down the road, 5v5 Grand Arena is right around the corner for us, and you're going to see a lot of videos about best counters and teams at work, but I don't think a lot of those videos are including, and this is what we try to focus on here and trying to help you out with, non-Kyber teams. What are people using in non-Kyber levels of Grand Arena? What are the most common offense and defensive teams? How do they perform? We want to help you out with that here today and talk a little bit about, talk through it a little bit. But I've done something a little bit different in order to, you know, you guys know, let me say this first. You guys know, boy, I've been taking some serious heat lately. One of my primary goals is to make Tyler Sim Jinxwan 6109 subscribe to this channel. I just, it is so difficult to read comments like this. There have been more. There have been more. Nooch, I wish you had more spreadsheets. I'm having trouble figuring out this video where you show the teams for each, you know, each assault body. We show the teams on the screen. Can you make a spreadsheet? Can you make an infographic? And with that idea in mind, with the hope of winning over some of these people, I have made a spreadsheet. Oh, thank you. A spreadsheet has been made. I will drop said spreadsheet directly to Discord. I'll put a link here to the spreadsheet. I'm looking over the camera. Now I'm looking at the camera. I will put a link here. I don't know why I was looking out here. I was looking to the crowd. I will put a link to the spreadsheet. Maybe it'll be a Google Doc. I don't know. But now, all of your problems are solved. There are no longer any excuses. You can now subscribe to this channel. Thank God. Thank God for the spreadsheet. All right, let's talk about this. There's a lot of information to disseminate here. And before we jump into this, we're gonna look at teams like the most used on offense will be column B, the most used on defense will be column D, and then the performance of those teams on offense and defense in column C and E. And I think it should be said that this is not information in a vacuum, right? Like, we can just take right off the bat, Finn with Zori, okay? Finn with Zori, we know that it performs a little bit better with Rose on the team, and Rose has an Omicron, it's a little bit better even still, and without Rose, it's a little underperforming. You know, Queen Amidala, we know she has to have the Poncho Bros, and the other two slots are kind of up for grabs. Iden Versio, Chief Chirpa without Nisa, not so great with Nisa. I've included Nisa in all these stats, so I've done my best with these stats to include teams that have you know, Chief Chirpa without Nisa is almost useless to look at, right? So I've kind of excluded all that. And you look at like recent Omicrons, right? I'm trying to exclude recent Omicrons like Quad May with the Krennic Crown. I tried to exclude that. Wampa with the Wampa Crown, trying to exclude that as well. So done my best. It's just not in a vacuum. You have to take your stats for. As always, use swgoh.gg insights. You can pull it up right now. swgoh.gg insights into 5v5 Grand Arena. You can poke in your teams over here. You can see what's going on here. And like, for instance, this is a really good example right at the top of the screen. 78% win rate of Wampa versus Java, but that's with the Wampacron. So I've tried to exclude all of that Wampacron data because if you're, I mean, Wampacron's still here when we're making this video, but if you're watching this down the road, there'll be no Wampacron. So let's get to, also, some of these teams, while they're, you know, used in higher or bigger numbers, are gonna be used more often earlier than later. We'll try to get into that too. So let's do this first. We're gonna take a look at the teams that are being used the most on offense in non-Kyber Grand Arena. And you still have a Galactic Legend coming in first. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is still the most used on offense team, and its success rate at 83%. So it's coming in really strong at a high success rate. You can see here, if we sort the largest to smallest, the highest success rate is going to be Leia Organa, Gas, SLKR. And this is another good example of this. This information is not in a vacuum. You're not going to use Leia Organa against the same teams you use with Gas against, right? Gas cannot If you use gas straight up against the exact same teams that Leia Organa was competing against, the win rate would be much, much lower, and maybe even like 50-60% lower. Because Leia Organa, will defeat high-level galactic legends, pretty much every galactic legend, I think. I don't think there's anybody she doesn't beat. And Gas is not competing against any of those galactic legends unless Jedi Master Kenobi's out there without a cat or some weird Jedi Master Luke team, stuff like that. So it's important to keep that information in mind. So Leia Organa is performing really high. Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is performing at nearly some of the highest levels on offense in Grand Arena and being used the most on offense. So a lot of you guys have unlocked Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and you're using him on offense. You've done it through Lightspeed bundles. A lot more Kylo Ren out there than ever used to be there before in non-Kyber rounds of Grand Arena. Now, of course, we're going to see more Kylo the farther on you go. He's a character that kind of drops on the rosters more as you advance in the game rather than at the very beginning of it. CLS is a team that you will see from the very beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game. 453,000 times on offense with a 71% success rate. Sith Eternal, 449,000 times on offense with a 79% success rate. And you can see that these teams that are the most used on offense are not coming in really big on defense, although let's see what our most used on defense is. Yeah, so you will see Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is kind of at high on both levels. People are putting him out there on defense. Now, like I mentioned, I tried to exclude the Raycron. In fact, I did exclude the Raycron from that. I think this number was much higher on defense, and this number was much lower as far as this is the success rate against this team on defense. So Supreme Leader Kylo Ren coming in really big, is used a lot on offense and a lot high success rate. CLS, Sith Eternal. Keep in mind with Sith Eternal, a lot of times he'll have Wat Tambor in there assisting him as well. Other high output offense teams. Let me see if I can freeze this. Hold on, I know I can freeze panes. Freeze panes. Okay, do we freeze that? No, I gotta put it first. Actually, we can do this here. We can do this here. Unfreeze panes and then freeze panes. Aha, now I got it. There we go. Oh no, it's froze SLKR too. Okay, I looked it up. Clearly, you guys know that I'm highly experienced and use XL all the time because I didn't know how to freeze the top two rows, but I got it done. Top two rows freeze. By the way, I think a lot of you guys are really going to enjoy this better when I put together an infographic or I look at the pictures. I just have to say, there's really, as I'm starting to do this, and we're going to go through this whole spreadsheet. As I start to do this, there truly is a reason that I don't do the spreadsheets, and it's because I like to see the pictures. Call me infantile, call me whatever you want. I don't care. Anyway, maybe you guys. All right, so we're looking at teams like SLKR with a high % win rate. Wampa's only got a 67% win rate. Now, I think some people were using, maybe there were some mistakes here using against the wrong teams. Wampa is highly successful against the right teams like General Grievous, Iden Versio, Phasma, Shock T clones, any Old Republic, a lot of those lower level teams, but against higher level teams without the Wampacron, Wampa is gonna struggle a little bit. So just keep that in mind. I think people were maybe reaching a little bit for the moon there with Wampa. It's great, we love Wampa, but she's got her limitations, right? A Jedi Master Kenobi, of course, you need Cat on that team to really make it work for you. High success rate on offense. Gas, as you mentioned earlier, high success rate. Leia Organa. Darth Traya. There's one that I'm always telling you guys to farm. 224,000 battles on offense in non-Kyber Grand Arena and almost an 80% win rate. She's just really, really good. Now, I separated out Palpatine here. Let's see if I can alphabetize this. Let's go A to Z. I did separate out Palpatine with Palp and Starkiller versus Palpatine. Palp and Starkiller was used 176,000 times with a 71% success rate, and Palpatine was used 186,000 times with a 69% success rate. I think it should be noted, as always, and this is going to be true, you're just trying different counters here, right? Like Palp and Starkiller is probably trying to kill Rey most of the time, you know. And this team, Palpatine without Starkiller, you're lowering your sights a little bit to like Geos or other teams on counters. So again, this information is not in a vacuum, and I think it's really important to feel that out. But hopefully we can kind of point out to you guys, this is like 34 rows here, 33. These are a lot of the teams that people are using in these rounds of Grand Arena. So teams that you can kind of focus on to try and have some success on your roster in Grand Arena. That's the main purpose here with these teams. Now we've got Leia Organa, again, big success. Darth Traya, we mentioned. Palpatine. Darth Bane, 81%, highly successful team there. Palp Starkiller, Darth Revan. You're going to notice as we go through that the offensive percentages are higher on success rate than the defensive percentages. And I think that's just because, you know, you're choosing your team, you're controlling it more. I don't know, so just keep going. Lord Vader, use on offense more than defense. That actually surprised me. I think in Kyber, you're definitely going to see Lord Vader used more on offense than defense, but he's just as successful. 80% win rate and only a 58.79% win rate against him on defense. So Lord Vader doing some really good stuff on both sides of the ball in non-Kyber Grand Arenas. Padme, still getting used out there, actually more than Lord Vader, and that's because when you look at those lower levels, when you're especially in Carbonite, Bronzium, there's gonna be a lot of Padme teams out there. I'm still using Padme as, no, actually I stopped using it. I got my Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron, so I'm not using Padme, but I did for a while. You're gonna see a lot more Padme at the lower levels, and eventually that morphs into Qui-Gon Jinn and Queen Amidala eventually. Not a high success rate on offense and doing better on defense, but still, you know, just kind of mediocre in both ways of that. When you look at Darth, see, because now we're getting to, when we look at percentages, you know, our highest is gonna be at, let's see, our largest is going to be 87% with Leia Organa, and the lowest is Bosk Bounty Hunters at 53.96% success rate. Everybody's still using them. There's this... We all use Bosk Bounty Hunters to farm the Executor, and yet there's still this obsession or this idea that you got to throw them out there and use them in Grand Arena. They're just not a great Grand Arena team. They can be better for a cleanup. They do work really well against like a classic Night Sister team where you use Boba Fett and Mando, you know, the Mandalorian, because their kill, you know, if you use the rocket or you use the disintegrate, you can't revive from those, and that can be really good against Night Sisters. Not a lot of other uses for those Bosk Bounty Hunters, so keep that in mind. You know, these Ewoks are down here, so let's take a look. We got the numbers right. We got the largest to the smallest. We're going from all the way through the middle down to teams like Boss Nass, Chief Chirpa, and by the way, I included teams on here that had over 100,000 battles, offense or defense. So that's what you're seeing here. Boss Nass was pretty low on offense, and you know, an okay success rate. Defense, great hold rate. We'll look at that in a moment. So we can see all the teams are being used here, and again, I'll make this spreadsheet available to you guys. You guys can kind of figure out the teams you want to be working on here in Grand Arena. Let's sort this by success rate. And again, Leia Organa on offense, Gas on offense, SLKR. You got to pick the right counters, but these teams are working for people most of the time when they use them. Jedi Master Kenobi, Darth Bane, Bo-Katan Mandalore, Jedi Master Luke, Lord Vader, Jabba. A lot of Galactic Legends mixed in there, right? And there's Rey, Sith Eternal. Out of those, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, is Darth Bane a Galactic Legend? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the first 13, actually 8 of the first 11 are Galactic Legends that people are having the most success with. I think that points to a lot of things. While we have found a lot of counters for Galactic Legends when they're placed on defense, you know, we counter Lord Vader with Bo-Katan, we counter Rey with our Starkiller teams. As far as like easy to manage, easy to use, go out there, just do their job. Galactic Legends on offense, they're just going to do their job, and they're hard to mess up, right? So that's why you're going to see these at the top, and that's why it's so important to get these guys in your team to use them on offense. They work on defense too, but we'll see in a moment. Darth Traya is one of the highest performing offense teams. I am always honking for Darth Traya. You guys hear me say it all the time. Get Darth Traya on your roster. Darth Malgus, Boss Nass. Those Gungans are really good on offense, and I'm not sure whether or not used more often. We're getting to the middle now. Darth Revan, Phoenix, Captain Rex, Queen Amidala, CLS. We get on to the bottom of the performers. This one was kind of confusing. Most of the Darth Vader offense stuff was against Geos, which is kind of a mixed bag. And then a lot of people had Darth Vader on defense. I think that's got to be like Carbonite stuff, man. Darth Vader is just not a good defensive lead. You can see down here, Iden Versio's getting beat a lot. That's because she's beat by Wampa. General Grievous beat by Wampa. Finn Mazori is not doing that great on offense. I'm sorry, this is on offense. I apologize. Iden Versio and GG, these are not great offensive teams. Darth Vader down through Geos, Mother Talzin, Qui-Gon Omicron, Chief Chirpa, Nisa, and Boss Bounty Hunters. Just not great options on offense, and not a lot of teams that they're going to counter for you. Okay, let's take a look at defense, and we'll do the same thing, sort the largest to smallest. The team that has been placed out there the most on defense, and I honk for this team too, because if somebody's facing them and they don't really know how to deal with them, is Geonosians. Classically, throughout history, the Geonosians have done really well in early rounds of Grand Arena on defense. However, I think that's changing. I think that's changing because right now they are the, that's not right, but they are the second worst team on defense. I think that a lot of people have figured out how to deal with Geos on defense. Now, the one benefit that they will have is that if somebody doesn't beat them the first time, they're not likely to beat them. But people are figuring out how to deal with Geos. This Ray success rate, Ray, 406,000 times. Ray is the stalwart galactic legend on defense. If you throw her out there with, if you happen to have Ezra Exile in your roster, she's going to be even better. If you have young Cal Kestis, just basic Cal Kestis, she's going to be even better. He's a great lifter. Ben Solo will be a great lifter. With her lifters, she's even better. And you can see here, 62.63% is her, that's the offensive rate against her. So 62.63% without any of those lifters, 50.8% with Ezra. That's just Ezra straight up. So keep that in mind. If you have Ray, you want to start getting those unaligned force users in there to help lift your team up. By the way, Kat is also a very successful lifter for Ray. If you've got Kat on the roster and aren't sure what to do with her, throw in a Ray team if you don't have Jedi Master Kenobi. Jabba out there on defense is doing pretty well. A lot of holds from Jabba. General Grievous, another thing like the Geos here, 294,000 times. The fourth highest team placed on defense in Grand Arena at these levels is General Grievous, and everybody's killing it. I really am not a fan of putting teams like, let's do this here, Bosk Bounty Hunters, Geonosians. Maybe I need to rethink myself on that. General Grievous, Qui-Gon Omicron. That's getting beat a lot. However, I think that probably goes to a super high percentage in later rounds of Grand Arena when people can afford to just throw a Galactic Legend against it. And I get holds on that like 1 out of every 3, matches. I guess that's only 67%. But, I think it's going to hold. A lot of these teams, this will hold a lot earlier on. A lot of these teams, all of these teams, I should say, will hold better early on than they will later on. So when you see these high success rates, you're better off putting them out there earlier on, and then as you move forward in Grand Arena, get them off your defensive walls because they're just not going to do much good the higher up you move in Grand Arena. I do not understand why Ewoks are being placed out there except just as a space filler, so you get the idea. And I think that's true of all of these as we move through them. When you see that they have a really bad percentage on defense, like 85% boss bounty, you're probably going to want to get them off of your walls as fast as possible. Early on, you might not have many choices, so you got to get them out there. And the same thing when you look at like low offensive boss, Chief Chirpa, you want to stop using, I'm just surprised this is this low. Qui-Gon Omicron, and maybe that indicates people don't have Kiadi Mundi yet. I'm not sure. That deserves a little bit closer look. That deserves a little bit closer look. We'll have to do a little bit more research into that to see what's going on, because that doesn't jive with my experience necessarily. But teams that are lower percentages on the offense, you want to start to fade those out of your roster sooner on offense. And same thing with teams that are higher percentages on defense, you want to start to fade those out as soon as you can. So other teams on defense, SLKR, Padme out there, not really great defense numbers. Bosk, we already talked about. Darth Treya on defense. I'll say this about Darth Treya. When you look at Darth Treya's counters, it is riddled with Galactic Legends. People will really struggle to beat a Darth Treya team. And, Gas is a good counter against her, I believe, if I remember looking at it. There's not a lot of other counters against Darth Treya outside of Galactic Legends that work really well. So maybe she's a character, you can see it's almost evenly split offense to defense. Maybe she's somebody to stick out there on defense if you don't have a lot of defensive teams and make your opponent deal with her. Maybe you hide her in the back and they don't, she's an interesting team for sure. Phoenix with Captain Rex. I did indicate Captain Rex in there. Without Captain Rex, it's not even a team. Holding, that's a pretty good defense rate there, 60%. Doing better on defense and offense, that's for sure. the lower you go on defense, the better you are. Darth Malgus is actually being beat a lot, but I think everybody's prepared for Darth Malgus. If you got a Sith Eternal, you're prepared for Darth Malgus, right? Jedi Master Luke is doing pretty well on defense. I was surprised at that number. So maybe in non-Kyber Grand Arena, you got Jedi Master Luke. Maybe it's not the worst idea to put him on defense, but he's also 81% on offense. He's doing pretty well outside of Kyber in Grand Arena, and that's a pretty good indicator that maybe he should be out. Maybe I see. If I had my head in front of these all the time. This one, I hope I had it. Anyway, Jedi Master Luke doing pretty well on defense and offense in non-Kyber Grand Arena. Gas having success on defense. I'm surprised that there's a lot of counters for him, like CLS and etc. There's CLS, you know, middle of the road defense and offense, but whenever you find the right spot for him, he's going to be great. Mother Tal's in there, Qui-Gon, Omicron. You see it on down the road. Down to the bottom level teams, you're not going to be using Wampa or Veers or Darth Bane at all on defense. That's just not how this is going to work. In fact, you can't use Wampa and Darth Bane in their preferred. You know, Darth Bane just wants one more Sith, and Wampa wants nobody else. And you put him on defense, they have to. You can't put a one-person team on defense. You're just not allowed to do it. So, Veers should never go on defense. Don't put a Veers Trooper team on defense. Bo-Katan Mandalore. These numbers are lower here, just because a lot of people don't have her in non-Kyber Grand Arena. So, there you go, folks. That's kind of a breakdown here. I think I did have a lot of that behind my head, but hopefully it's I don't know. Let me know in comments. Give me more. I'm gonna say here at the end, I am much more comfortable disseminating information when I have graphics in front of me. I guess that's what it comes down to, and it means more meaningful to me. But I do glean a lot from this, and I think, you know, we could do a lot of research for ourselves going into looking at some of these teams that are in on Kyber even. But take a look at swgoh.gg and use that insight tool if you can afford to, you know, fork. I think it's $3 or $10 a month. I don't remember. If you can fork out for it, it has a lot of value for you to look up teams in Grand Arena. Everybody, have a great day. I will talk to you soon, and always remember, Nooch too good.